Okay, I think we'll call the meeting to order. We will start with welcoming our 2023-2024 Student School Board Representatives, Callie Tonella and Sienna Goodney. Callie is a senior ombudsman for MSHS Student Council Executive Board, and Sienna Goodney is a junior ombudsman for MSHS Student Council Executive Board. Welcome. So they just wanted to smile and wave. Okay. So we will have our student reps lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, roll call, please.
Kristen Cambenzi,
Here.
Glenn Sarka, James Hewitt,
Here.
Jennifer Cliff,
Here.
Jennifer Ray,
Here.
Cheryl Maddox Smith,
Here.
Jason Zadunik,
Here.
All right, moving on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Cambenzi.
we have to approve the agenda.
Sorry. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I would make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
All right, motion made by Mr. Zadunik, support by Mr. Hewitt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now moving on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you again, Mrs. Cambenzi. And just a few items first. Our annual reference to the overnight extended field trips. You have information in your packets. Pretty much standard as far as what I can tell. Nobody here from the high school, which would generally be the case if there is anything unusual. So if there's no questions on that, there is one typo that we noticed. For the first field trip should be 2024. Any questions on field trips? Okay. Wanted to briefly touch on snow removal bids. I, again, don't have a lot to report since the bids were awarded to the same contractors as last year. However, in your packets is a little bit more breakdown. Audience, I tried to give you something. It's hard to present in a way that you can read, but you can probably get the general idea. Hopefully you can. If you can, I'm happy to answer questions on specific buildings. But again, there is not much to report. I'm waiting to hear back from Spodek in regard to Bothwell and the cost increase from last year, but they are the only bidder, so I don't know that it's going to change the outcome, but I am curious why that cost increase is so much more than the other buildings. So that information was supposed to come to me. I have not yet seen it. And if I do see it, I will pass them along to the board. Any questions on snow removal? We did reach out to additional contractors and haven't had a lot of luck with getting additional contractors. It's pretty much just the two that you see there, Smith and Spodek.
So, forgive me if I'm incorrect, but it looked like there was over a $17,000 increase in snow removal from last year to this year.
Overall,
Yeah.
I don't have that figure in front of me, but I know it's generally $2,000 to $3,000 a building, and with 7 buildings, that would seem appropriate, especially with Bothwell being upwards of over $7,000 increase. So again, we competitively bid the projects, and mostly just what I would, I guess, consider inflationary increases, but I did reach out regarding Bothwell because that one struck me as unusual.
Oh yeah, I mean, it definitely jumped out that there was a huge increase for Bothwell and also over a $3,000 increase for Greg Rat.
Yeah, I did notice that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear back. I called the company, and the person I spoke to seemed to have limited understanding. They referenced additional costs for sanding, salting, etc., and said they were going to reach out to the person who actually puts together the bids and get back to me, and I have not yet heard back. I reached out to them again today, and they said they would get it to me. I still have not seen it as of about 5 minutes ago when I last checked.
Okay, thank you.
I did want to speak, if there's no other questions, about a couple of grant opportunities. And I do need to make a correction. It's 23G and 97, section 97, Mrs. Hopper. So if we could correct that.
Okay, 27G and
No,
not
20
31AA.
23G and 97, not 31A.
Okay, 97.
Just section 97.
So you're not going to talk about 31AA.
Section 97 and 23G. So, a couple of grant opportunities that are well aligned with some of the initiatives already put in place. Start with section 97, school safety grant. You can't see it in front of you, but behind you is I have a short PowerPoint presentation. If you want to turn around, the audience can see it. Hopefully. Approximately $376,000 to improve student safety, and just a breakdown of how we're budgeting that money. Again, these are preliminary budgetary figures, and it could change, much like most projects we've noticed. But PA systems, these recommendations came from a safety audit that we had done this past summer. So this is consistent with the recommendations from the Secure Education Consultants out of Grand Rapids. Approximately $200,000 for PA systems at Cherry Creek and Superior Hills. There is currently none. That can be problematic in certain scenarios, emergency scenarios for communication. I've spoken quite a bit about cameras. We did phase 1 this past summer and installed approximately $100,000 worth of security cameras thanks to the help of Northern Michigan University. And they were very responsive and got more done than we expected. But we now have well over 100 cameras in place, many of which are in buildings that had none prior to this summer. So every building currently has, I'll say, at least a half dozen cameras in place in high traffic areas and important points of interest, especially in regard to safety. So that's a major investment, and I'm grateful for the board's support for moving that forward. I have given tentative approval to move forward with phase 2. And that won't likely happen for a while, but we actually have phase 2 already built into our planning, and that should hopefully be happening this next summer. But the fact that we have systems up and running in all of our buildings, that was a heavy lift, and it was done in a timely manner according to schedule. So wanted to reference that. So that's a project that's somewhat already, I guess it was completed, but that grant money would be very much used towards that. Our plan is to use the grant money towards that camera project. And then lastly, radio system upgrade. Our bus radio system is antiquated and not effective, not to the extent that it really should be. We are very grateful for the enormous amount of help that we've received from Eric Smith, who recently retired from Northern Michigan University and is now working as a consultant for us. He is well versed on this topic, one of the masterminds behind the EAN network at Northern, so he knows his stuff. He has given us a lot of expertise, and we are currently getting ready to release an RFP, a request for proposals to upgrade our radio system. Now that's gonna greatly improve our bus network, but it'll also address safety. Our intention is to have, well, the project would essentially give us access to a repeater network that's already in place, one of Northern's repeaters, and that repeater would give us access to a digital network in addition to the analog network that we're currently using in our buildings and in our internal systems, if you will. So that digital network, much more expansive, much better coverage for not just our buses, but we're also planning on having an emergency channel. We would have 2 digital channels, a bus channel and an emergency channel, and then our internal networks. That would greatly improve our communications amongst our bus drivers and our central command, if you will, or bus garage administration, and then even some key personnel, law enforcement included, especially our school resource officers. I could say a lot about this radio system upgrade, but I won't tonight because it's still in the works. Again, we're just putting that RFP out. We're not quite sure what we're gonna get in response, but I'm very excited to have some grant money to help us upgrade this system and improve our safety. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to interrupt. It's hard to see you down the line here, so you might have to just talk over me for a second, but I guess a little bit of a recap along with some cute pictures. But again, the safety audit completed this past summer. Security camera phase 1 completed this past summer. I've mentioned previously a district-wide drill that we've done at MAPS. That was in the spring of '23. That was a coordinated drill amongst all of our buildings in partnership with law enforcement. We actually have a meeting coming up with, I guess, local and regional police and fire, and that's going to be by way of our crisis team. Then I'm excited to get everybody together and talk about some of the next steps that we're going to take in improving safety. More cameras, I put phase 2, referenced that already. I referenced the radio system upgrade. Better maps is something I'm very excited about. We actually were, because of the audit, given a tip, if you will, on some additional grant money that would pay for some maps that would greatly improve those that we're currently using, not just internally, but also with law enforcement. And those maps would make response time, I believe, much more effective for our law enforcement. And I could, again, speak much more about that, but again, maybe better when there's a finished product. At this point, it's more the preliminary stages. We have agreed to work with a group called CRG, Critical Response Group, and they will be creating those maps for us. I mentioned the PA systems, and then MFA stands for multi-factor authentication. I guess it's cybersecurity, best practice. We've been working with our staff on, I guess, a soft rollout on multi-factor authentication, and are going to be taking the next step, especially with our teachers, to provide them multiple options, including a district-provided USB key, so to speak, so that we can ensure that all of our faculty are using multi-factor authentication and keeping the data secure, the data that we have access to secure. Any questions on any of that? I know I'm covering a lot of territory. Separate grant, again, the first one was section 97C. This is 23G. I'm very excited not only to be given the opportunity for MAPS to be given the opportunity, given the opportunity to access additional revenue, but also because these grants are so consistent with the programming and the initiatives that we have in place. I mentioned safety, well aligned with what we already had in the works, and now this 23G grant, the Michigan Get Kids Back on Track, potential grant award of $300,000. It's based on achievement. We actually have a system for approximating how many dollars we would get based on how many students are or are not at grade level. And really, I guess in short, it's providing extended learning opportunities, addressing the gaps that you see in that data. And because we've already in the past made a commitment to things such as summer school, free summer enrichment, free after-school tutoring, we instructional coaches. We have lots of ways to spend additional grant revenue. So $300,000 approximately would certainly be a very appreciated revenue, unexpected revenue for some of the initiatives that we're looking forward to continuing to offer. Again, most notably, summer enrichment and after-school tutoring. So that's great news, I believe. Both grants, great news. And will help us keep some of this great programming going. Speaking of programming, I'm gonna try to not get too long-winded, since this stuff is what I do for a living, and I could talk at length about any number of these initiatives. But again, some of these things that are in place, we're talking about MTSS implementation, multi-tiered systems of support, addressing the academic, social, emotional, behavioral needs of our students, all exacerbated by the pandemic, which, although somewhat in the past, we still are seeing the impact, especially through student achievement, some of the data, social emotional learning data for sure. We have made a cognizant effort to bring on additional resources and implement additional programming, some of which I've already mentioned, and there's more here in the works. EduClimber early warning system, a dashboard to allow our teams at a building level and a district level to identify students at risk, an early warning system just like it sounds, flagging students on academics, again, social, emotional, behavioral, attendance, grades, all number of factors, myriad factors that are influencing their ability to be successful. Student achievement, if you will. That system is in the works. We're currently already signed on to EduClimber and hopefully going to have that system up and running in the very near future. MTSS, continued process guides, data literacy, PLCs. PLC stands for Professional Learning Communities, all things that are in the works. Curriculum and assessment review. We had PD today on this topic, moving down or going further down this road of better curriculum mapping, horizontal and vertical alignment of our curriculums at all levels. And then I already mentioned summer enrichment and tutoring. Social emotional supports. Previously, I've talked about counselors. We have full-time counselors at the elementary. We have gone from 2 to 5 social workers in the district, 2 to 5. Again, we have social workers at the Alt, Bothwell High School, and then we have 2 district social workers. Some of that is paid for by grants. Behavior, autism behavior coach, brand new this year. Social emotional screeners. We're working on a couple of different avenues to address social emotional learning and to screen appropriately within EduClimber, but also with the help of Marisa, we have a mental health screener that we're going to be piloting next year, a true suicide prevention screener for certain grades. Again, that's a pilot, but things that we're exploring that are very much a need in our public schools. Programming, social emotional programming at every level. It varies, but again, consistent K through 12. I've spoken about the community forum. We have another meeting coming up here soon. We have a district wellness team as part of our strategic planning group, and that team, part of that team's charge is social emotional learning. The 3 to 5 year plan that you see there is very much aligned to MTSS. Last year was year 1, which was MTSS 101, the introduction, if you will. This year's collective efficacy, we recently brought in basically the preeminent expert on collective efficacy, Jenny Donahue, as our keynote at our back to school PD, and then we have ongoing PD with Dr. Donahue throughout the year. PBIS next year, that stands for Positive Behavior Intervention and Support. We're already starting to plan that out. And social emotional behavior learning after that, and lastly, to round out MTSS implementation would be just, I guess, a fidelity check in year 5. Programming continued. The early childhood supports, those formative years, for the second year now, I'm very excited about having JK in every elementary building. We brought kindergarten screening back last spring to help provide our staff some better data to support proper placement for those youngest students. Teacher assistance at the elementary is in place again. A variety of curriculum and instructional supports. Some of those are assessments, some of those are progress monitoring tools. All of them are designed to help us with data-driven decision-making, curriculum mapping like you see below. at all levels, but again, those formative years especially. More supports. Thank you so much for supporting instructional coaches. That has been one of the most, I guess, paramount or influential measures that has happened since I've been in administration, and certainly as a superintendent. I can't say enough about how much of an impact those instructional coaches are having, and it's only growing. And thank you to the board for supporting that effort. Health aides, roving subs, TAs, all helping support our students, especially with some of the staff shortages that we have. And then better training. We have signed on with, I mentioned Dr. Donahue, Collective Efficacy, the CARRY team, that's University of Minnesota. They're supporting and have supported our MTSS implementation. Student-centered coaching is in the works, actually happening this week. And then lastly, just some regional initiatives with truancy, day treatment, and other measures related to positive behavior intervention support. So lots of great things going on. Last slide is just, I guess, a summary of MTSS. I consider it really, in a nutshell, an effort to leverage every possible resource available to positively impact every student and give them the opportunity to be successful. It's data-driven, it's systematic, it's comprehensive, and it's aligned to best practice and research. So that's the plan that we've had and the plan that we're sticking to. We have a strategic planning meeting coming up on the 26th, and at that meeting I will provide a maybe more thorough update on MTSS, some of the grants I mentioned, and the plan that we have in place for moving MAPS forward. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to approving the consent agenda, which includes minutes of the regular board meeting of September 18th, 2023, the personnel report dated October 2023, and the financial reports of September 2023. I would entertain a motion.
I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Support.
Motion made by Mr. Zadudnik, support by Mr. Sarka. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, moving on to board committee reports. Committee of the Whole meeting of October 2nd, 2023. At that meeting, we discussed the enrollment update by Mr. Sedgwick. Do we have any update on the count day, or will that be next meeting?
Yeah, the count day takes a little bit because you have to catch all those kids that weren't there on count day, and then there's a certain window for kids that are absent. It takes a little while, so more to come on count day.
Okay, thank you. And we also had an elevator update. So work will be starting on that on October 23rd. And then a staffing update that we still have some full-time positions that were and part-time positions that we're looking to fill for the school year. And then we also discussed the rebranding process and what that would look like. So one update I have on that. We will be collecting nickname submissions starting next Monday, so Monday, October 23rd. And it will run until Friday, November 17th. We've created a Survey Monkey just as a tool to use to get submissions. A link to the survey will be posted on the district's social media, website, and others. A press release will also be sent out to local media. Submissions can be emailed to the board at schoolboard@mapsnet.org. And they can also be mailed to the central office at 1201 West Fair. Attention, school board. And I don't know if anyone has any further comments about our committee of the whole meeting or any of that.
As far as those surveys, have we had a lot of responses, do you know, yet, or?
The survey isn't active yet, so it'll be active on Monday, and then we'll get we created like a poster and stuff that we can get out to people that has like a little QR code that you can scan with your phones, and then there'll also be other ways you could do it online, or just send in your submissions, because we know not everyone has access or is very good at technology sometimes. So we'll take submissions any way that you want to get them to us, up until the 17th of November. And then after that, we will start discussing and hopefully narrowing it down.
So tentatively going live on Monday?
Yes, it'll go live on Monday.
And Kristen?
Yeah.
Submissions that we've already gotten, will those also be then considered? Or do
Yeah.
they need to be resubmitted?
The ones that we already have will go into the mix of the new submissions that we get, so that we will keep like an Excel sheet of all the different entries. And then we'll have some help going through, and if someone uses, like puts, I don't know, the Coyotes or something, and they spell it all uppercase, and if they spell it all lowercase, and so that we can capture all the different suggestions and kind of lump them together. So. Yep, so that'll be live on Monday, and we'll be taking submissions until the 17th. And then there's other ways you can still get them to us between now and then. I know we've gotten a couple of emails in the last couple of weeks since our committee of the whole meeting with different suggestions. So you can always email us at schoolboard@mapsnet.org, or send it snail mail, and we'll get it and add it to our list. All right. Do we have any further discussion about that? Anyone else want to chime in? No? All right. Moving on to the student school board representatives report.
So recently we had our homecoming, and that was super successful and lots of fun. And about 2 weeks ago, we welcomed new students to our school in the coffee shop, and we just like talked to them and ate donuts, so that was lots of fun. And Sienna.
So our next task is going to be a Halloween costume competition, and that will take place on Halloween, like during the half day. And then our goal this year is just to make school more like fun and inviting for the student body.
Thank you. All right. Comments from the public, agenda items only. I have 3 items, but they're not for agenda items, so those will go at the end. So we'll be moving on to new business. Consider overnight and extended trips for MSHS for 2023-2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommended overnight and extended trips for 2023-24.
Support.
All right, motion made by Mr. Hewitt, support by Mr. Sarka. Do we have any further comments or questions about the overnight trips? No? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Consider snow removal bid awards. So I guess I would entertain a motion to approve the bids.
I'll make a motion to approve the bids.
I would second.
And I would say that we would need to make the motion to approve the bids to the low bidder, since we don't have any recommendation there.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought the ones that were highlighted in the brown were the recommended ones. But yeah, those are all the lowest ones anyway.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll amend my original motion to say that to accept all the lowest bid proposals that came in for snow removal.
I would second.
Okay. Any comments?
Are there any deadlines that we're worried about? Do we have to approve it right now, or could we keep looking? Could we get explanations for why the bids are the way they are?
Well, we've, in the past, rebid and quite honestly just have not found additional bidders. This year, we actually reached out to contractors hoping for additional bidders and still had none. I did actually receive an email from Spodek since last commenting where I think they may be willing to shave a little bit off their price for Bothwell. But again, that's hot off the press, so I suppose if they bill us less in the end, that's great, but we've exhausted all the resources that I can figure, or that I can
And nothing
find.
to identify what makes Bothwell and Gray Barrette unique, because the prices are going up fairly consistently in the other
The-
locations, and then suddenly there's,
Yeah, what I just heard was that basically inflation, keeping up with inflation, they were barely breaking even, and determined that they just needed to increase the cost in order to make a profit. That's,
is the
I guess,
inflation rate higher at
Right.
Bothwell
I-
and Gray Barrette than it is at the other schools? Because-
I have the same questions. I tried to have that conversation and got an email response that didn't really answer all my questions as well. I don't have a good answer for you, to be completely honest. We are a little bit, I guess for lack of a better term, over a barrel when it comes to snow plowing, because there just aren't a lot of
We're over a
options. Over a snowbank, yeah, that
What-
might be more appropriate. Jim, did you have anything you wanted to say? Okay. Go
Is
ahead.
there also any explanation for why no bid for instance, for Bothwell? Because Smith Paving has bid in the past on that, correct? When's the last time we awarded Smith Paving a Bothwell? Smith Paving a Bothwell,
I don't believe Smith Paving bid on Bothwell.
He said-
I don't think they did last year either.
okay.
Yeah, not the
Right.
last 2 years, because this is pretty much exactly the same as previous years. We had a third contractor that bid 3 years ago, my first year as superintendent, but they were quite a bit higher and they weren't awarded. They might have been awarded one building, and it must just not have been profitable for them because they haven't bid since.
And you've got a building in Bothwell's backyard that the price didn't go, again, I'm thinking, could location be the explanation, but a block away, you've got another building where the price didn't.
Well, yeah, and the same contractor has like Superior Hills and Bothwell, so that would make sense that they would bid on both of those. But I guess I kind of wonder about like a Cherry Creek, which is a little bit of an anomaly because it's on its own, and why Smith would bid on Cherry Creek based on proximity, but not bid on a Superior Hills or a Vandenboom, right, which is right in town. I have no good reason for that. I think they have well, again, they have spoken a little bit about equipment, getting equipment around. They do stage equipment in certain buildings, and I think they can drive between buildings, certainly between like a Bothwell and a Superior Hills. But I have no good explanation beyond that. I reached out to contractors this year, which was somewhat unique, trying to get them to bid. And they did a little of the preliminary work, but ultimately determined that it wasn't in their best interest. They seem to have plenty of work.
Does anyone else have any further comments? Okay, well, we do have motion and support. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Consider adoption of the annual summer tax resolution. And I believe this is something that we do every year around this time, which just allows us to collect taxes from the different entities, correct?
Correct. It's basically allowing us for the city of Marquette to perform a summer tax levy for the district. So just routine housekeeping done annually.
Okay, thank you. So I would entertain a motion.
I would make a motion to make the annual summer tax resolution as presented.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Sarka, support by Mrs. Maddox Smith. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Gifts and bequests. Wait. Okay, well, I guess that's, okay. Gifts and bequests. Marquette Fence built, installed, and donated a bike rack for students at Cherry Creek Elementary School. Donation of supplies by to MSHS by Range Bank. So thank you for those donations. And then we'll move on to comments from the public general. So I have 3. We'll start with Ernest Johnson.
Can you hear me? Yep. Ernest Johnson, 1962 West Fair Avenue. This is kind of a follow-up from when I was here in August. I have been waiting and watching for any cost associations with the rebranding, both in hard cash and soft dollars. As of yet, I have not seen any. I don't know if any's available or anything else at this point in time. You have been or are going to get additional dollars for the cost of rebranding. My feeling is that the money could be better spent used in the education of kids, i.e. supplies that would benefit the education of the kids, not to be wasted on rebranding. Personally, I'll just keep watching and waiting and hoping that someday the cost will show up so the residents can see how and where the money has been spent for the rebranding and that. Thank you.
Thank you. Shelley Garnsey.
Hi. This is way out of my comfort zone. I haven't done this since my senior year of high school, to talk in front of people like this. But first off, I want to wish happy birthday to Glenn. Thanks for being here tonight, because there's better ways to celebrate your birthday. And secondly, I would like to read a letter that I mailed out after last month's meeting. So it has taken me a month of thought, prayer, and several conversations with my legal counsel to write this. A little background history. I am a lifelong Marquette resident, business owner of 35 plus years. My family has 3 generations of Marquette graduates in Redmond. I'm a state licensed child care provider, and I run a Christian family home. I run my child care as family, and the children I help raise become my family. I go to birthday parties, confirmations, graduations, and their sporting events. Currently have a couple playing for Marquette Senior High right now. In the last 35 years, I have attended more of these last named events that I could count. I've also attended, especially in the last few years, many school board meetings, and if not, keep up with them online. If there are any records of my contact with Marquette Schools principals, superintendents, teachers, you'd find only concern for the well-being of children, concerns over bullying, overcrowded school buses, 6th graders walking in the dark down US 41 and crossing the highway to catch the bus. Point is, I am an advocate for children, and my now lengthy letter, September 16th through the 25th, I received not 1 or 2, but 4 basically cease and desist letters from Ms. Clip and Ms. Ray, which were nothing short of bullying and threats of legal action if I continued to ask questions about them and whether or not they were correct people to be on the board making decisions for our children and their education. On September 18th, at the board meeting and closing comments, both of these members went on what was literally a publicly televised rant. After speaking with a number of school board members in other districts in Michigan and reading up on policy, I don't believe that this was correct protocol or the right forum for them to do this. They should have been stopped. It certainly shouldn't have been televised or printed in the local paper. It also stated after the meeting, they approached their harassers, and considering I was the only one left wearing Redmond, it pretty much insinuated I was guilty of these crimes that were being committed against them. Mr. Sark also called me out by name, adding he's had numerous conversations with me. Due to board policy, the members can make whatever comments they wish, but we, the public, aren't able to respond. It's a bit late at this point to fill out our yellow form. Other than one GIF that I posted on You Know You're From Marquette, in which I mentioned no names, it was simply a picture, a little GIF. It was in poor taste. It was deleted. I publicly and privately apologized for doing it. Other than that, I've done nothing but ask questions. I've not accused, certainly nothing along the lines that I've been accused of. I keep my personal and very private settings and social media clean and appropriate, knowing I have past daycare kids as young as 6th grade that see my posts. If other people do not do the same, that's not my fault. If they have seen my posts on a private group, like people wanting to keep the Redmond name, then they've infiltrated the group under false pretenses and or false names, and I believe that would be cyber stalking. Continuously messaging me and threatening me on my private social media is cyberbullying. They claim to have screenshots, but I've seen no proof. They offer to meet for coffee and alcoholic beverages, but then refuse to meet. Ask us to set up meetings, like Glenn did ask me to set up a meeting at my church, but nothing has come of that. Just no follow through. Letters to let everyone know what's been going on to both myself and a few other Redmond supporters. I personally and others would like them to cease and desist. We're within our rights to have opinions, to state them, to question the background and appropriate public behavior of the people representing us in our schools. Thank you. Is the new survey going to be anything like the other one? Are you just going to acknowledge what people send in?
Thank you. Jackie Heikela?
My name is Jackie Heikela. I live at 700 Hampton Street. On September 16th, I received a message on Facebook Messenger from Jennifer Clipp. In the message, she accused me of posting comments on Facebook saying that she had personally accepted $30,000 from the Sioux tribe and that I thought she should be imprisoned. She threatened me with a lawsuit if I didn't cease and desist from posting further lies about her. She said I could possibly ruin her family, her career, and her husband's livelihood. Even though I don't remember saying these things, she said she has screenshots of everything. So my immediate reaction was to block her, but I didn't at that time. At previous board meetings, Mrs. Clipp has repeatedly encouraged us to meet with her and Miss Ray over a drink or cup of coffee to discuss our concerns rather than turning to Facebook. So I decided to answer her message and told her that there were 4 of us who wanted to meet with them. She asked me what we wanted to talk about. I told her that I was very interested in seeing those screenshots, and we also wanted to discuss the removal of the Redmond name. She answered me by saying that she couldn't talk about any board issues with us, and that meeting with us was well outside of the scope of her responsibilities as an elected official. So after that response, I blocked her. I'd now like to move to the board meeting of August 17th. If you weren't at that meeting, you missed the best orchestrated performance by a school board ever. The Mining Journal and TV6 painted a completely different picture. First, the audience was stacked with NMU professors and students all supporting the name change. One professor called the entire UP racist and white supremacists. Another said he hasn't lived here very long, but he was still against the name. Others said that they were shocked when they moved here to see that the high school was associated with the name Redmond. A few talked about how demeaning it was to be called a redette, as it reminded them of a dinette or a towelette. An elder from the tribe walked down the aisle, produced some sort of proclamations against the name, slapped them down on the stage, and walked out. Tyler LaPlante escorted his sobbing young teenage daughter to the microphone where she stated she could not attend the high school after seeing the words Redmond on a school wall. Moe Malafi from Northern got up, said we should change the name, and walked out. When the vote was taken, they all explained why they were going to vote the way they were going to vote the way they did. We all knew that the vote was going to be 4-3. It was public knowledge at that point. However, Cheryl Maddox Smith said she wasn't sure how she was going to vote until she saw Tyler's sobbing daughter, and that clinched the deal for her. After the vote, the NMU audience gave the board a standing ovation, cheered, clapped, high-fived each other, and I heard a few of them say, "We did it." This all happened at a Monday meeting, and by the weekend, a full-page ad was published in the Mining Journal with a list of people in the community who had supported changing the name. Continuing with the charade, this list would have had to have been created well before the vote was taken and announcement. So here we are tonight, choosing a new name. President Cambenzi has said that they will accept any and all suggestions except Redmond. I grew up with a girl whose last name was Redmond. Is her family now supposed to change their name as well? What has the board actually accomplished by changing the name? They made a small portion of the Native American community feel better. But what has this done for our community as a whole besides dividing us further? And then there's the kids. COVID took away their graduations, their proms, their schools, life, and now they're having their school identity stripped of them. How much more are these kids supposed to endure? With the suicide rates as it is, I think we should be lifting them up instead of tearing them apart. Our world is in a spiritual war right now. It isn't a war between left and right or right and wrong, but it's a war between good and evil. Everyone should take a good look at what side of the war they're on. In the end, no matter how hard you try, you can't destroy our history. We've been the Redmond since the 1800s and will continue to be the Redmond. Simply put, you can never take that away from us because it's in our hearts.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to board member comments. I will start with Mr. Zadunik.
I just have to go first. I don't know if that's one of the, if that's a benefit or not. So I am still working to secure some additional information that's necessary to address the pay-to-play policy. I'm hoping to have that information available soon, so I'm able to continue that conversation. That's the only comment I have right now.
Good, thank you. Sorry. Moving on to Mrs. Maddox Smith.
I just want to say welcome to our new student representatives, Callie and Sienna. Thank you for being here. It's kind of intimidating sitting up here, but I know someday you'll look back on it and you'll be glad, and we look forward to hearing more from you guys. Looking at all the grants and all the positive things that Zach was talking about, I just see a lot of really good things coming for our students. Just couldn't be better time, the school safety audit and that grant coming in. I know I looked at the video on that CRG mapping. It's mapping that's done mainly by the military, and it just makes so much sense for the safety of our students to be doing it in our schools. So I'm really looking forward to phase 2 and seeing that coming in. I just feel like we're so lucky to live in such a great community that we can get along so well, and looking at the grants and donations that are coming in for the For the students, Range Bank and Marquette Fence putting in the bike racks, that's awesome. And I just want to say thanks to all of my fellow BOE members and our support staff for all the hard work that they're putting in. You know, Martin Luther King Jr. said that doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it's always right. And that's what we're trying to do. So I thank everybody here for their opinions and looking forward to working together.
Thank you. Ms. Ray?
Don't really have any comments, just thanks for everybody who shows up and comes and speaks, and I appreciate that. And I am looking forward to, seeing all of this security stuff unfold, as well as the grant is really significant and encouraging. So, thank you.
Mrs. Clip?
Welcome to our student representatives. That's always fun when you guys finally show up. Makes me happy. See kids doing that kind of stuff. Thank you again, just to echo generosity of our community, specifically to Marquette Fence. The fact that they not only installed it and donated it, but built that bike rack for Cherry Creek is pretty great. Also, thank you, of course, for donations of school supplies from Range Bank. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Hewitt?
No additional comments, thanks.
Mr. Sarka?
This is always a bittersweet meeting because we get to meet our new members, which is always great, and then we're reminded how much we're going to spend on removing snow. And I'm hoping it's not a prediction of how much that we're going to get that much more snow this year, but it's something that we have to do every year. And like the superintendent indicated, sometimes we run into situations where, especially being a UP school, there's not a lot of options for bids. The bidding process isn't as competitive as we'd like it to be, and driving the price down. And that certainly is the situation here, and then the situation we ran into at the last meeting with the elevator. So sometimes, in spite of our best efforts, we still run into costs that are increasing. Also, it's great at meetings to see that in addition to people supporting the school just through general means, we have organizations like the Marquette Fence and Range Bank step up and provide for schools, and that's always encouraging as well. And just want to thank everybody that came up to speak. Again, it's not the easiest thing to speak in public and give you a lot of respect for doing that at a public meeting. It's even harder when it's an issue that's been contentious. So thank you for doing that, and other than that, just look forward to winter.
All right, board president comments. Just thank you, welcome students. It's always fun to have you here. Let's see, announcements and other meetings. October 25th, 2023, MSHS and Bothwell Spooktacular Concert at Kaufman Auditorium at 6:30. On Halloween, October 31st, is a PD day, half day for students. November 3rd, 2023, end of the first quarter. That went by quick. November 6th is our next committee of the whole meeting. It will be here in the library at 5 o'clock, not 5:30, 5 o'clock. November 8th, parent-teacher conferences, K through 5 half day. November 9th, parent-teacher conferences, K through 12 half day. November 10th, K through 12 half day, and also the MSHS musical Beauty and the Beast at Kaufman Auditorium at 7 p.m. November 11th, again, Beauty and the Beast at Kaufman Auditorium at 1 and 7 p.m. November 22nd through the 24th, Thanksgiving holiday, no school. November 27th, 2023 is our next regular board meeting here in the library at 5:30. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support. All right, motion made by Mr. Hewitt, support by Ms. Ray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.